Hi everyone, welcome to the fifth video in the React series. In the previous video, we learned about how to actually create functional components. And in this video, we are going to learn how to pass props to these functional components and also receive them. So let's go ahead by actually creating a file in which we are going to write a functional component code. So let me create a file called displayname.js. This is going to be our functional component file. Now, since we have already learned about how to write code for a functional component, in this one, let's explore an extension which is going to make our life much easier. So this right here, ES7 React slash Redux slash GraphQL is basically an extension which is going to save us tons of time. So I've already installed this. You can go ahead and install this extension in Visual Studio Code. Now all we have to do in order to create a functional component is type rfce. This stands for React Functional Component with a default export, and I'm going to hit enter. And as you'll see, it's going to create a functional component for you. The best part about this is it's going to name your component based on the name of your file. Once you use this, all you have to do is start working on your main code. Alright, so in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say h1 and say hi Simran. And right now it's not going to do anything because we are not using it anywhere. And we have done a default export of display name, right? So let's go to our app.js and actually import it. So here I'm going to say import and display name, right, from our display name file. And let me hit save on that. And now let's actually call this particular component. So this is how we can call it, right? So I'm going to hit save. And as you can see, it's displaying hi Simran. The reason why it's displaying twice is because I also have some code written for it in my app.js. So let's actually go ahead and remove this. So right now I'm just calling my display name component and it's displaying hi Simran. Now we want to be able to pass it props just like we pass arguments to a function, right? So I should be able to say that I want to say hi to different people. And let's say first time I want to say hi to Simran. Right, so I'm going to say hi Simran, and I'm going to copy this code and paste it 2 more times. And right now it's saying hi Simran 3 times, right? And in the second one, let me actually go ahead and change the name to John, and last one I'm going to change the name to Lisa, right? So if you see, I have 3 names here. I'm giving different parameters, but it's not changing anything because we are only passing it. We have not yet received these props, right? Let's go to our display name file, and here what we are going to do is we are going to receive props. Okay, we'll see what this props actually contains. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and console log these props. Let's see what it actually contains. So I'm going to say props. Let's hit save and check the console log. So right now it's basically saying that it's an object, and that object is a key value pair of the props that we passed. We passed name equal to Simran, right? Let's actually also pass another prop to it and see what happens then. I'm going to say age equal to 23, and I'm just going to copy this for all the 3, right? And let me hit save on that. And it has 2 key value pairs, the name and the age. So anything that we pass as props is actually received as an object here, right? So in display.name. So we should be able to print the name and the age. So I can say name and age. And basically, since this is an object, I can say dot name, and also I can say props dot age. And let me hit save on this. Now let's check. And yes, we are able to see, right? It's printing name, comma age, name, age, and so on. Therefore, in order to actually access what we get through props, we can simply do it by props dot whatever name we have passed the prop as, right? So here, when I want to use this, in order to use it, what I can do is instead of Simran, I want to print the props dot name, right? So let me hit save on that. Let's see what this results into. It says hi props dot Simran. It's not actually printing the name because this is just text here, right? It is just normal text. In order for it to know that this is not text and it is actually some value or an expression like we spoke about before, we need to put this in flower brackets like this, right? And then it will know that it has to actually evaluate this and see what the actual value is. Now it says hi Simran, hi John, hi Lisa. So we have already created a reusable functional component. Why is it reusable? Because we only had to write the code once, and you can see we are only passing it different props and we are able to render different data every time. Now there are a few things that we have to note about these props. Props are always read-only. That is, you can't modify the value of props. Here, if I try to do props.name is equal to, let's say, xyz, let's see if you are able to modify this particular property. Let me hit save on this. And it's actually going to give us a type error. Cannot assign to read-only property name. Props can never be modified. You have to simply use them in the format they come in. Now let's delete this and hit save, and we can also remove this console log from here. Let's see one more thing about how we actually call a component. If you're seeing, this is known as a self-closing tag. That is, we are simply closing display name here, right? Instead of this, if you do something like this, let me say display name, right? This is not self-closing. You have an opening tag and you have a closing tag. Whereas this one is just self-closing. You do not have a separate closing tag for this one. When you're having an opening tag and a closing tag, the way you pass it props is similar to when you have a self-closing tag itself. So you can pass props in the same way. Now why are there two different ones? Sometimes you might want to insert code in between your opening and closing tag. For example, here let me say h1 and I'm going to say my age is 23 and I'm going to hit save on this. And as you can see, it does not display anything here. So whatever you place inside your opening and closing bracket of your component, it is not going to display anything here. If you actually want to display what you give between these two brackets, then you can go to your display name and also print props.children. So let me say props.children and hit save, and let's see what this prints. So the second time we are calling our functional component, we are passing my age is Simran as a child. Therefore, whenever you want to display any of your children code, all you have to do is include the code inside your opening and closing bracket, and then you can simply render it by doing props.children. If you now try to log props, you will also see that it has another property called children, which contains this particular piece of code. And now the last thing that we will look at is something called as destructuring. Now if you see this props, we are taking it as it is. Whenever we want to use any value, we do props.name, props.children, and so on, props.age. We'll have to do something like this, which is actually getting very repetitive, right? So since you know that your props is an object, instead of doing it as props, you can put flower brackets. That is, you're trying to destructure an object, and you can get these keys directly by saying name, age, and children, right? And let me hit save on this. And now it says props is not defined. So we don't need to do props dot anymore. We can say name directly and we can say children directly. And let me hit save on this one. And you can see that it's giving us the same result it was giving before, right? So you don't need to repeat this code of doing props.name, props.age. Instead of that, you can put this object notation, that is, you're trying to destructure an object, and these are the values that you want from the object. For example, if I don't want to use age here, I can simply remove it, and the only values I want to use is name and children. So this is the way to achieve that. That's it for this particular video. In the next video, we'll see how to pass functions as props and how to actually execute them. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe for the upcoming React videos.